Good morning, happy Sabbath. Today we're going to talk about, is B12 too much or not enough? That's the question we're going to try to answer today. And I think at the end of this, which is real short, you'll find out it's actually balance. So, all right, so next slide, please. So what is vitamin B12? It's actually a water-soluble vitamin, and it's important for various cellular functions. I can't see that far back there, but anyways, it's important for the function of red blood cells. If you synthesis of red blood cells, if you don't have enough, your red blood cells do not form right, and you get something called B12 deficiency anemia. So that's not a good thing to have. What else if you don't have enough, or the role? It's important for normal nervous function, and so your nerve cells need vitamin B12 to function normally. And lastly, it plays a role in DNA synthesis, so your cells cannot reproduce normally as efficiently as they should. And there's also various other factors as well. Next slide. All right, so this is what can happen if you have vitamin B12 deficiency. So generally speaking, you can feel like tired and fatigued, just not have enough energy. Cardiopulmonary symptoms, according to WebMD, you can have like shortness of breath or palpitations, mucous membranes. You can get like pale skin. That's probably because you're somewhat anemic. But your tongue becomes smooth. If you look at your tongue in the mirror, it's actually full of nice ridges and plump. But when you have vitamin B12 deficiency, it becomes kind of glossy and smooth. All right. GI symptoms, or for your gut, it causes constipation, diarrhea, loss of appetite, just some of the issues. And then nervous system, as we talked about, it can cause numbness and weakness and tingling, and so that's not exactly fun to have. And then lastly, psychiatric, you can actually have depression, memory issues, and behavioral changes as well. So there's just some symptoms that people can have if vitamin B12 deficient. Okay, the next, so where do you get vitamin B12? And that's a very good question. And vitamin B12 is actually found in multiple sources, and most people think that you have to eat meat for this. And if we can get to the next slide, please. Meat, once again, and dairy products tends to be high in vitamin B12. Well, why is that? Well, the animal has done the hard work for you, all right? It's not because they can necessarily make it themselves, but they've actually taken the time to eat the food that actually has vitamin B12 in it or on it, because after all, it actually comes from bacteria, actually. And so that's why animal sources have it, is because they've ingested it, and it's kind of like accumulated inside their body, and so when people consume it, guess what? They get B12. Is that a good source? Well, there's a lot of studies saying that probably isn't the best, but that's another topic. All right, supplements is another realistic way to get it. You can find it over the counter, and it's listed vitamin B12 and or in a multi-supplement, vitamin supplement. And that can be found at any store that sells supplements, actually. Eggs have it, fortified cereals, and nutritional yeast. All right. So those are some places where you can find it. And it's interesting when you look at the sources of vitamin B12, it's actually fairly easy to get. I thought that I would be deficient in vitamin B12 because of the fact I'm pretty much a strict vegetarian. We do consume like considerably micro amounts of dairy, but not as much as I used to, by probably decrease that by over 100-fold, if not more. And so I thought I'd be vitamin B12 deficient, but guess what? I wasn't. And the reason is because not only do I eat like whole grain fortified cereals, which are multi-grain, organic, and stuff like that, but also the almond milk, which I actually drink, guess what? It has it. So surprise. And so therefore, I'm actually not in it, don't have it. In addition to that, we do consume a fair amount of nutritional yeast, and we put this on everything almost. And so before, when I was more of a, I guess, lacto-ovo/flexitarian, I guess you can call it, it used to be like spaghetti, sauce, and cheese in like 3 equal parts, all right? But now it's not like that anymore. It's noodles, the sauce, and guess what the cheese is? Nutritional yeast. Right. And before this whole virus thing, it's pretty easy to find, but you can still find it online at various stores. But it's very, very healthy and a very good source of vitamin B12, and it has like tons of uses. But it has kind of like a nutty flavor, and it tastes very good actually. Okay, so next slide. So how much vitamin B12 should we have? So the next slide here. Okay, for adults, it's 2.4 micrograms a day. For children between 9 and 13, they say 1.8 micrograms. Children 4 and 8 is 1.2, and toddlers and infants 1 to 3, it's about 0.9 micrograms per day. And this is according to nutritionalnewstoday.com. All right, now is there a problem with too much? And this is an interesting question. Before I actually came into this knowledge, we'd always say, well, if you take too much, it's no big deal because it washes out of your system. Well, apparently, too much, it can be a problem. Did you know that? All right. So this is according to an article that was synopsed on pcrm.org, which I get a lot of my news information from. It says that high blood levels of vitamin B12 are associated with increasing mortality risk. They go on to say that the study looked at like 5,000 different people, and apparently what happens is that too much vitamin B12 can cause problems with the kidneys and liver. And if you don't have a healthy kidney and healthy kidneys, I should say, and healthy liver, that is not good either. So what's the bottom line when we take everything out? When we boil everything down? Well, number one, it is possible to get this from plant sources without having to take a supplement. And once again, you just have to look at your daily recommendation. Also to look at the nutritional paneling on the different foods you eat. And but overall, if you have access to nutritional yeast, that's actually a really good source, and you don't have to worry about it. And then, and as this article is saying, is that we don't want to overdo it. And once again, there are implications to our health that if we overdo anything, guess what? Too much of a good thing is a bad thing. And this is kind of where temperance comes in. And after all, it's important for balance, as Pastor talked about many Sabbaths ago regarding everything, stress, work balance. But even in nutrition, we have to have balance. Otherwise, we can overdo it as well. And that's not a good thing either. And once again, the reason for good health is that so we can stay healthy to help tell the good news of the gospel, amen? Because it's hard to do that when you're 6 feet under. And so let's go ahead and thank you once again. And once again, be happy, be healthy, and be safe.